Hi loves, you are welcome to Olives. In this video, we will be cutting and sewing our 180 degrees flare dress. The top part of this dress has a tube as well as some crisscross strap. In the first part of this tutorial, we drafted the top part, which is the tube. And so if you are yet to watch, I'll leave the link in the description box. Do keep on watching and learning with Olives. Let's get right into this. I will be making use of 4 yards of this printed fabric, and first of all I'll go ahead to cut the 180 degrees flare. I'll do this by folding the fabric into 2 equal parts. So this is my fabric folded into 2. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to grab one end of the material like this, the fabric instead, and just fold it in a form of a triangle, just as you see. That is how to fold for 180 degrees flare. Okay, so here I'm just adjusting the fabric well, and then this is what I have to begin to mark my lines. Okay, now we'll need the waist measurement. The waist I'm working with is 27 inches. Now we'll need the radius. Okay, and this we are dealing with half or 180 degrees flare. So the radius, to get the radius, I'll divide the waist by 3.14. The full circle is 6.28, so half of that is 3.14. Now I'm going to add 1 inch allowance to the total waist, which will be 28 inches, and I'll divide this by 3.14. I have 8.9, approximately 9 inches. There is also another way to calculate. Okay, so you divide your waist by 4 instead. So I'll still add a 1 inch allowance, which is 28 inches, and I'll divide this by 4. The result is 7. So on the fabric, you can just mark your 7 inches. Just locate your 7 inches wherever it stops, then you mark it. Okay, make sure there is no space anywhere, so mark the 7 inches. Now you can't make the 7 inches to be a straight line. Okay, it has to be curved, so you measure from the tip of your material or your fabric and mark whatever result you have. What I have there is 9, and it's the same 9 inches I have from the first calculation. So any of these is correct. Okay, so I'm just going to mark this 9 inches and then rotate the 9 inches from the tip of the folded material, and then I'll have my curve. Okay, and if you have the result from using 3.14, it's still the same way, rotate it. Okay, now after subtracting the shoulder to waist, which is 15 inches from the full length, I have a total of 42 inches as the length of the skirt. I will need ½ inch to join the waist to the bodice, and as well ½ inch to hem the lower part of the skirt. So that will be a total of 43 inches, which I'm going to mark from the waist measurement we've marked. Okay, so I'll follow the waistline with my tape and move on to mark my length of skirt. Okay, so whatever points I have, I'm just going to connect them together to have a curve. Fabrics have a total length of 45 inches. Okay, so definitely if you are dealing with a long flare, there will always be a shortage at the edge of your flare. Okay, so for this reason, I would have to add an extra fabric, the same fabric though, and then I'll overlap with about ½ inch. This ½ inch will help join the edge of the flare together. Okay, so there will be no shortage. You have to overlap first, and since I have already marked, I'll cut out whatever I have marked, that is the curve, and then I'll re-overlap the fabric beneath it this way and turn it over to the other side to see the actual shape, and just follow to cut out. So that is how I added the extra fabric to the skirt. All I have to do is to open up the fabric and join them together. Okay, so far this is how the 180 degrees flare looks like on me. There will be a pocket at the side, so I'm going to divide the other side of the flare, which is on fold. I'm going to divide it, and then that will be the sides of the skirt. Okay, so this is the center front, which is on fold. The other part, which is beneath, is the center back, and the 4 other sides will be the side where I'll fix the pocket. So from the waist I'll come down by 3 inches, and then from that 3 inches I'll mark a width of 6 inches, which will be the width of the pocket. I'll notch it to locate the beginning and the end of the pocket. Okay, and this is a closer view of the extra fabric I added. Let's move to the pocket. I have the fabric folded into 4. I'll just mark a straight line this way and then mark 7 inches. The pocket width is 6 inches. The extra 1 inch is allowance. Okay, so I'll mark this 7 and just curve it just as shown. The depth of this pocket is 10.5 inches. So I'll move on to cut, and we'll quickly move on to cut the bodice. That is the top part. I've added 1/2 inch allowance along the seam line. I've also added to the neckline, and the side seam is 3/4 inch. The waist also is 1/2 inch. I did the same process to the other sides, the back as well. The side of the back is also 3/4 inch. I'll move on to cut these out. These are my straps for the lacing as well as the crisscross. It has to be quite long depending on the size. The thicker the person, the longer the strap. Okay, so the length is about 100 inches. The width is 1.5 inches. That is the width of the strap. Okay, and this is one and this is the second one. So I'm going to go ahead and sew them together. Then we'll move on to join the bodies together as well. I've cut 4 of each, so one will line the other. So I'm going to pick each of them and join them together. This is the center front. We also need to notch so we don't get confused, so I'll notch the nipple and the underbust. I'll do this to the center front as well, so the notches will match together. So I'll pick one and then pin it together. And so when I get to the machine, I'm just going to stitch 1/2 inch from one end through to the other. I'll repeat the same process to the other side of the bodice. This way, pin it together. So whatever I'm doing to this one, I'll do it to the assumed lining. Okay, since they are all the same fabric. Then I'm going to add the back as well to it. This is my back piece. I'll meet the side together. For me, I use the side seam of 3/4 inch. So while sewing, I am aware that the side seam is 3/4, so that is what I'll use to stitch. Okay, so this is what we have, the full bodice, and yeah, this is the skirt as well. I added the pocket to it, and this is how it looks like. This is the front skirt. I added a pocket to 2 of the sides of the skirt, and this is also the back. I went ahead to fix zip to the center back and also fix the pocket, one other sides of the pocket to it. So now 4 of these pockets will come together, 2 each will make a full pocket on both sides, if I'm making sense. So with this, I'm going to join the side with 1/2 inch and follow the pocket, go round and come back to where the pocket ends, continue stitching with 1/2 inch to the end of the skirt. So that is what I'll do to the other side as well. After knitting the sides and the lower part, I'll also move on to turn a lay of 1/2 inch on the hem throughout. Okay, so this is the strap, or let me say the loop. We are ready to work on the loop. Okay, so I'm just going to turn it inside out. It's just a little strap that I stitch together. The length of each loop will be 2.5 inches, and I'll have something like this as the loop. Okay, so I'm just going to fold and cut this 2.5 inches of loop, and I need about 6 of them. Moving on to the main strap, this is how it looks like. after turning inside out. Please, this length of 100 inches for me was too much. It was really too much, so I think I cut off part of it. Okay, but this is the bodice stitched together, and I'm going to grab each of the strap, just going to place it like this on the seam line. I'll place the other as well here like this. So that is how it's going to be, and I'll place the lining on top. That's the lining of the bodice. Pin it round. So this is how it looks like. I will stitch the neckline with 1/2 inch allowance. Afterwards, I will notch and flip it to understitch, and that will be all for the neckline. So this is how it looks like after stitching under stitching. I also added caps to it, and this is how I have made it. Okay, so the next thing is to fix the loops. I'm going to mark 1/2 inch from the beginning of the back neckline. That will be the first space for the loop, an interval of 1 3/4 inch. Then I'll mark 1/2 inch again, that's for the loop. Mark an interval of 1 3/4 inch, and that is what I need for my loop. Okay, so having done this, I'm going to fold the whole bodice into 2 so I can transfer whatever mark I made here to the other side of the center back. So by so doing, I have transferred with a notch. Okay, so wherever I see a notch, I know that that is where the loop will be. This is how I made the loop. I just twisted it, and then I turned it over, twisted, and then turned it and tacked. Okay, so I'll move on to just place each of these loops at every 1/2 inch mark or notch. Okay, so the first one goes to the beginning of the back neckline, the other one follows, and the third one, 3 on each side of the center back. I'll flip the lining over this way, and when I take this to the machine, I'll stitch about 1/2 inch. That is the allowance I used, so I'm just going to stitch 1/2 inch, and when I get to each point where the loops are, I'll back stitch so it could be stronger. Okay, after this, I'll turn it inside out, and this is what I have here, and this is what I also have on the other side. So we are done with the bodice, ready to fix the skirt too. Okay, so I'll notch the center front of the bodice and also notch the center front of the skirt, pin them together. That's by matching the center fronts together. I'll continue to pin till I get to the end of the bodice. You know, there will be an extra space on the skirt because we took off about 3.5 while drafting on the bodice. Okay, that's where the lacing will be. So I'm going to stitch with 1/2 inch, and where the excess will be on the skirt, I'm going to introduce a strap. Just to neaten it, I'll introduce a strap, fold the strap this way, and then I'll overlap the strap a little bit and also fold it this way. So when I get to the machine, I'm going to start stitching from the center back of the skirt through to the other side of the skirt. Okay, and after stitching, I'll turn and stitch the strap only and fold it to the back and top stitch. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, I'll go ahead to trim off the excess of the zip, and then I'll understitch. That will be after knitting. Okay, I'll understitch and then turn the strap this way and fold again, and also top stitch just as I explained earlier. Okay, I hope you enjoyed watching and learning with Olives. What do you think about the outcome? Feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about this outcome, okay? And if you end up recreating yours, share with us on Instagram at Olives. We will share it on our community page, okay? And also do like, share, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell to be notified always. Thank you for watching.